Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing my February wrap-up. The first book I read in February, I actually started it in January and finished it in February, is Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. This is a memoir. It is about a singer and guitarist. She is in the band Japanese Breakfast, and she's detailing her life after her mom gets diagnosed with cancer and taking care of her mom. And it's very much so about coping with grief, and it talks about how she finds comfort in foods that her and her mom enjoyed together, and how foods kind of created their relationship and brought them together. And it was heartbreaking, but also a very good read, and I definitely suggest you pick this up even if you do not know who she is, because I didn't know who she was before I read this. But I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was a good representation of like what we go through as people when we lose people we love. I did not rate this because it's a memoir, and it makes me feel weird to rate a book that's not fiction. So I didn't rate it, but I did really enjoy it, and I do recommend it. Immediately after finishing this book, I picked up Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. I finished this on February 7th, and this book is about a young girl in San Francisco in Chinatown during basically what is like the Red Scare period and communism and all of that stuff. It's a historical fiction, but it has aspects of her dealing with what life is like to be an Asian American in this time period, while also dealing with the fact that she's coming to terms with her sexuality, and she visits the Telegraph Club, which is a women's club, and she goes with a friend and their relationship, and dealing with having to tell her parents that, not only as just like a person in general, but also as an Asian American, and how they react and all of that kind of stuff. I gave this book 3 stars. I did enjoy it, but I felt like I couldn't relate to it very well, and so it was a good story, and I did read this very quickly, and I did enjoy it, but that's why I gave it 3 stars. The next book I read, I finished on February 10th, and that was The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. I have a whole review up, and I will link it in my description on what I didn't necessarily love about this book. I gave it 3 stars. It is a book about a girl who is from Spain. She's living in America, and she's supposed to be going to her sister's wedding in Spain, and she needs a date. And her enemy, work enemy, is going to fake date her and go and pretend to be her boyfriend, and it's like a romance based on that. If you want to hear more about my feelings on this book, definitely check out my review that I've already posted, my feelings, all that kind of stuff, because I did have some issues with this book, but it is still a cute little romance book if that's what you love. So yeah, you can check that out. It'll be in the description. The next book I read, I finished on February 15th, and that is The Sanatorium by Sarah Pierce. This is a thriller. It is actually going to be a series, so we're going to see more from Detective Ellen Warner. It basically takes place in a sanatorium, or it used to be a sanatorium and they've changed it into a hotel. She's invited, her and her boyfriend go to meet her brother for his engagement party, and his fiance goes missing, and then people start popping up dead. And like creepily dead, not like just casually dead. And so she starts to kind of dig in, even though she is no longer technically a detective, because of some things that have happened. And so she's dealing with her trauma as well as trying to figure out these murders. And it was really fun. I liked the sanatorium bits and how that tied into the whole thing and the history of the sanatorium. And I did really enjoy this, and the plot twist at the end has me ready for the next one. So I rated this one 4 stars. Next, I finished this on February 15th. I also started this on February 15th. I read it in one day. And it is Gemina by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I gave this 3 stars because I do not love this series, but I do plan on finishing it. This is the second book in a series. So the first book is about these people who live in a mining town that technically is like illegal. They're not supposed to be there. They are attacked, and they have to get on spaceships and flee. And in that one, the spaceship's AI goes kind of crazy. This picks up where the last one left off, but with a new set of characters who are on the station that the original characters are trying to get to. And so in the next book, I need to read the last one. I haven't finished the series yet. they're probably gonna merge. So I didn't love it. It's fine. A very quick read. Everything in it is like files and drawings and like DMs and things like that. So even though it's 600 pages, I read it in a day because it is a very quick read. The next one I read and finished on February 17th, and that is the Hawthorn Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the second to the Inheritance games. I rated this 4 stars, and yes, I love this series. We just picked right back up where we left off in the last one. If you do not know what the Inheritance games is about, there's our main character who she receives the inheritance to this wealthy man's and everything basically, and she has to move into his house with the family that lives there and all of his grandsons who did not inherit anything, and it's all a big puzzle. And so they finished one puzzle at the end, and then the beginning of this book there's yet another puzzle and another twist to what all is going on. And so there is one more book that has not been released yet. I'm very excited about it. I do love these. They're very good YA mystery books, and they're just fun and exciting. Also, let me know which brother you think she should be with, Jameson or Grayson. I would love to hear your thoughts. The next book I picked up finally again because I was supposed to do this in December if you've been watching. It is Crescent City. I finished this on the 19th. I was already 100 pages in because I read 100 pages in like December and I just couldn't get through it. So I picked it back up. Once I got past like 150, I could not stop. I read like the last 600 pages of this in one day and I cried. It was so good. I really enjoyed it. But this is following our main character, Bryce, and if you don't know, she is half fae, half human, and she lives in Crescent City. This is an urban fantasy, so it's a little bit different than other Sarah J Maas books. But basically, I don't really know how to explain this without spoiling anything, so I'm not going to say much, but we have a host of characters in Crescent City. Things are starting to get weird, and they're basically investigating these deaths that are happening in town, and then it turns out to be something way bigger, that kind of thing. I don't really know how else to describe this book, so I'm sorry. I did rate this book 5 stars though. It was my first 5-star read this month, and I really enjoyed it. It really tugged at my heartstrings. And I haven't read fantasy in a while, so it was really good to get back into that. Immediately after finishing Crescent City, same day, still February 19th, I read All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. After reading a chunky fantasy book, I just wanted to sit down with a really quick read, and I could not stop. This is a dual timeline where it goes back to when she first meets her husband and how they fall in love, and then the present day talks about their struggles. I would definitely check trigger warnings for this because the trauma that they're kind of experiencing together made me a little bit uncomfortable, and I know that it's a topic that, like, if you have ever dealt with those problems, you may not necessarily want to read this. Maybe you do. But yeah, it's following their present day and why their marriage is falling apart, and the past of how they fell in love and why they love each other. It was such a quick read. Colleen Hoover, as usual, I do love, but this is the first time I gave a Colleen Hoover book not 5 stars. I rated this 4 stars. My friend read it and like ugly cried. I did not feel those emotions. Like, I teared up just a tad bit, but it really didn't hit me. And I just expected more from a Colleen Hoover book, even though this is an older one, I feel like. I'm not really sure when this was published. But yeah, I did still enjoy it, just not the best Colleen Hoover I've read. The next day, after I finished All Your Perfects, my copy of House of Sky and Breath arrived. This did take me like a little bit to get through at it and finish it until February 26th. Again, Sarah J Maas. This is the second to Crescent City. I just uploaded a reading vlog with spoilers. If you're interested, I will leave that in the description and you can go watch that if you've already read this book and you want to hear my spoilery thoughts. If not, this picks right back up where Crescent City ended, and Bryce and Hunt and the gang are back at it again. This time, just more complicated. And the ending, I rated this 5 stars. I was in complete and utter shock at the end of this and shed a couple tears as well. So, I don't want to say much else because I feel like everyone knows about this book and we're not spoiling that here. If you want the spoilers, go to the video that has spoiler warnings and then you can watch it. The same day I finished Crescent City, February 26th, again, I was like, ugh, I just read this huge fantasy book. I don't want to get stuck in a slump, so I picked up a Colleen Hoover book, and that was Heartbones by Colleen Hoover. This one follows a girl who has grown up in neglect and poverty, and basically this isn't really a spoiler, but in the very beginning her mother dies, and so she has to go stay with her father who has money, and she meets a guy who seems to come from wealth, and it's just like her dealing with like the traumas that she's going through while trying to learn something about this boy who is very closed off, and kind of having to figure out how to navigate in this new life, and then also how to like explain to everyone what's happening, while also getting to know Samson. It was still really good. I enjoyed it, but I gave it 4 stars. Again, it didn't really make me feel the way that Colleen Hoover books normally make me feel, but I did think it was a really good story and an important story. So yeah, I did still enjoy this book. It was a very quick read, and it was great post-fantasy. And the last book I read this month, I finished on February 28th. Yep, right in time. And it was Survive the Night by Riley Sager. I enjoyed this. This is a thriller. Basically, we have this girl who has gone through the death of her best friend due to a serial killer. And she decides to take a ride back home with a guy that she met at university, at this board where people post that they need rides places, even though she does not know him. So she gets in the car with a stranger, and things start to get weird, and she starts to feel very suspicious of if she should trust this guy. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 3 stars because I've read better thrillers, I feel like. A lot of it just takes place in the car, so not much happens. I do like that it's written as like a screenplay, but she's just dumb. She makes really stupid decisions, which really bothered me. The main character was kind of annoying. I just was like, come on now, make better decisions. Also, it was like plot twist, then a plot twist about that plot twist, and then a plot twist about that plot twist at the end, and so I thought the plot twisting was a little bit too much for my taste, but it was still good. Very quick read. I read it in like 2 days. It's fairly short. This is the only Riley Sager book I've read, and so I was kind of confused about if I want to read anymore, but I've seen a lot of people's reviews saying that this is their least favorite Riley Sager book and that a lot of them are better, so I will probably give this author a try again at a future time. So I did still really enjoy it. It's a decent thriller, but I gave it 3 stars. So that is my February wrap up. I think I read 11 books, which is really crazy because February is a short month, but I've had some more time to read and I've been focusing on reading. I'm really excited for the picks for my TBR for this month that hopefully I will get to. If not, TBRs are meant to be flexible. You don't have to stick to them. If you want to read what your heart desires, go for it, and that is my philosophy. So thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought about these books if you've read any of them, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.